Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the What If. Chapter 14. Public enemy Naruto and all of his other crewmates sat in the room that they all shared at the palace, which was more like a small home in most cases. Everyone except Naruto and Soren were silently freaking out. The news about the incoming meeting with an admiral and King Cobra actually spread fairly quickly around the city after Soren. A lot of people were excited about the world government talks coming to Alubarna, hoping that efforts to help Alabasta pick up the country after the civil war would be coming forth. The Foxhound pirates weren't so happy about it. Johnny kept flicking his sword loose from his sheath with his thumb. What if they don't even know we're here? Can't we just slip out and vanish before the admiral gets here? Soren shook his head. The coast is locked down tight. No matter which way we go on the river, once we reach the sea they'll have us beat it and come right for us. One ship against 40. What part of that sounds good to you in any way, shape, or form? Yosaku pointed at Naruto. We have a guy that can make tidal waves, whirlpools and walk on water. Are you really telling me that we can't get out of here? Naruto frowned. It's one of me against 40 ships armed to the teeth and with itchy trigger finger. Now I like me a whole lot. But even I wouldn't bet on myself to get out of here that way. Miss Valentine snapped her fingers as an idea hit her. We could ask the king for temporary commission as Alabasta's privateers until we get out of here. Soren shook his head. Won't work. Privateers are still pirates, and the only pirates allowed by law are the Shichibukai by the world government. Me and Uzumaki have laundry lists from here to the floor. They would come after us so fast you guys would wonder what the hell happened. Nojiko moaned and fell backwards onto a bed. So we can't ask for amnesty or something? We did just help save the country. A paper was dropped on her from above. Picking it up, it revealed Luffy's wanted poster with an updated bounty, 100 million. For what? Isn't it a good thing he exposed corruption like what Crocodile was doing? I've been trying to tell you guys from the start, the world government at its heart is corrupt. Soren growled in annoyance. They want to be seen as infallible. The knowledge that Crocodile operated under their noses to overthrow an entire country makes them all look incompetent or something, so they raised Luffy's bounty to help it stay covered up as much as it is. Did you hear? Johnny said matter-of-factly. They tried to pass of that smoker guy as the one that took down Crocodile. Of course they did, Soren said, shrugging. They need to save some kind of face on this, don't they? And we can't hide either. Our ship is still in the river near Arumalu, but they won't risk coming up the channel after us because they would just be lining themselves up single file, and any idiot could fight their way out of that kind of situation. Naruto looked at Soren curiously. You sound like you've been through this kind of thing before. You have any plans for us to get out of this? Soren shook his head and smiled apologetically. Not right off of the top of my head, Uzumaki. I've never been stuck like this before. I've always been on my own, so I could basically disappear until the heat died down, or I could slip away. Naruto cupped his chin in thought. If we could at least get to open sea, I could make sure we get away. I can generate an air current that would speed us up and slow them down. Naruto stood up and walked over to the window to look out at the city. How long do we have until the admiral gets here? Realistically, Soren asked, crossing his arms across his chest. If we're completely serious about a time frame, then I'd say 2 days would be overly optimistic. That's just fantastic, Miss Valentine said. I dodged Crocodile and now I'm still going to die because we're about to be smushed by an admiral and thousands of marines. She rubbed her temple. Someone come up with something and get us out of here. Soren rolled his eyes. You're going to be waiting for a while. Between all of us, only I have any experience keeping out of arm's reach of the marines. The rest of us are total newbies at sailing in the first place, and the only one of us with the firepower to blast their way out is maybe Uzumaki, and I still don't think he can pull it off. Not that he'd leave the rest of you behind even if he is capable of doing it himself. Nojiko placed her hands on her knees and her chin in her palms. So what's going to happen once whoever it is gets here? They're going to kill all of you and throw me and Uzumaki and impel down. Soren said nonchalantly before backtracking. Well, that's if whoever it is can bring us down without killing us first. I don't know about Mon Capitan, but to hell with prison. I hear stories about that place. Johnny's jaw dropped. Why would they kill us instead of capture us? We're with you, aren't we? Miss Valentine shook her head. You don't have significant bounties if you even have one at all. Naruto and Soren have high bounties and I'm linked to Baroque works, so they would try to capture us to make a spectacle out of it. The rest of you they would just execute on the spot. Which would be better for you? Soren added before shivering. You really don't want to go to Impel Down, seriously, and that's where me, Uzumaki, and Valentine would be dragged off to if we're caught. Naruto sighed. Well, if it comes down to it, I'll let you guys get away and draw the heat to me. At least I can make sure I survive. Naruto's eyes widened. Holy shit. That's it. It's absolutely perfect. I can totally survive getting captured, Datbeo. He slapped himself across the face and twitched his eyebrow. Goddamn it, I thought I finally outgrew that. How? Nojiko asked. How the hell would you ever survive anything like that? Naruto grinned. Trust me. This idea is going to totally work. There's no way they can hold me. He walked over to Nojiko and rubbed her shoulder comfortingly. We've got a shot now. It's better than all of us getting caught here, trapped like rats. Everyone in the room started looking more positive except for one person. No way. Soren said, shaking his head, I know exactly what you're going to do and I say no way. It's suicide. What do you think they're going to do when they capture you? Naruto picked his ear, put handcuffs on me and beat the crap out of me after they store me somewhere safe. Exactly. Soren roared. They're going to beat the shit out of you with seastone cuffs on and then drag you off to get violated and impelled down. Seastone which doesn't affect me. Naruto added blankly. Seastone which doesn't affect you. Soren's statement slowed down as he realized why that was important. Oh, they don't know that. Naruto grinned widely and nodded. They think I'm like you and have one of those devil fruit powers, so they'll put those things on me and think everything will be okay, like how Smoker thought his weapon was going to break me down in Nanohana. No matter what they do, as long as I can reach my hands, there's nothing they can do because they still don't know how all of my jutsu work. Yosaku had been silent most of the time as he knew he couldn't come up with anything to get them out, so how the hell are we possibly going to pull this off? I don't even know what's fully going on here. Miss Valentine had simply been staring at Naruto in disbelief as she caught on to what he was saying almost right from the start. You can't be serious. Upon seeing how Naruto's face had lost all concern for the conversation after his last answer, she got her own answer. So you, all by yourself I might add, are going to make sure we all get out of here and then you're going to somehow catch up to us. Yep, Naruto replied cheerfully as he went to leave the room, so don't sweat it, Miss Valentine. All we need to do now is work out the plan to get you all away. He exited and shut the door behind him. The room was silent before Miss Valentine shrugged and went to leave as well. Okay, well, this is going to end badly for everyone. I might as well enjoy the last bit of time I have alive living in a palace. She left the room laughing to herself. XXX Naruto stood in the throne room of the palace in front of King Cobra, Agaram, and a man directly under Agaram as one of the elite guards of Alabasta. Chaka, we're going to be leaving before we end up putting you in a bad spot. The last thing you need right now is more scrutinization from the world government than you're already going to get. Yes, Agaram said, we are incredibly grateful to all of you for your efforts, but something like this, to have them discover how close to the royal family you are after how they tried covering up Crocodile's defeat would only end badly for everyone. Chaka spoke. Do you need help in escaping? Naruto shook his head. You couldn't help even if we did. From what I've been told they would find out. Hell, I'm still wondering who was able to take my picture for my bounty. I didn't see a soul. Cobra rubbed his beard in thought. This is very troubling. As much as it pains me to say this, when is the soonest you can depart? I would not like to have to force you out of our capital after the service you have assisted our nation with. He really wished that he could assist Naruto by vouching for him, however he had a duty to his country, and harboring a fugitive of the world government wouldn't help them any. Naruto waved off his concern. We can leave now, but we actually have to wait. The only way we're really getting out of here is our plan that needs exact timing. Cobra perked up when he heard that, and when exactly is the exact time? Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Whenever the Admiral shows up here in Alubarna. He took notice of the looks of shock on everyone's face. I know what you're thinking, but this isn't as suicidal as I'm making it sound. I know what I'm doing. He got a deadpan look from Agaram. Seriously, I know what I'm doing. Don't give me that look. I'm not as stupid as I act, most of the time. Cobra gave Naruto a long, hard look. Are you absolutely certain you can get away without alerting anyone? No. Naruto responded honestly, it's definitely going to alert everyone, but that's the point. It's not going to get traced back to you though, so don't worry about it. They'll just think we were passing through. Chaka had a sweat drop on his head, so you're going to intentionally provoke an exorbitant amount of Marines, because it will actually help you to escape. That sounds very counterproductive to be completely truthful. Naruto nodded. It's my only shot at getting all of my people out of here in one piece rather than having them hunt us all over the desert and down the river and try to pick us off piece by piece. Can you tell me when you're going to initiate this plan of yours? Cobra requested to Naruto. Not really. Naruto replied. All I can say is that when the amount of Marines around the city gets bigger, that's the indicator that it's about to happen. Naruto bowed to Cobra, seeing as how he actually respected the man for how he ran his country. We'll make ourselves scarce. Remember, we were never here, and as far as you're concerned, we're pirates just like anyone else once it begins. With that, Naruto shoved his hands into the pockets of his sage coat and left the room. XXX Naruto walked alone through the halls of the palace on his way back to the rest of his crew to hash out the exact plan for their escape before he simply stopped in place. Please come out, Vivi. He spoke to seemingly no one. I wonder how much of that you heard. All of it, Vivi said as she came out from behind one of the ornate pillars in the palace. How can you ask us to treat you as enemies after what you've done? That would be like an insult to what Luffy and the others did as well as you. You saved Agaram, brought him back here, and you helped us fight. You've saved us, and saved Luffy from Crocodile again and again. Naruto looked at her. Look, Vivi, you should know after what happened that you can't protect everyone. You should focus on the people that need protecting. Isn't that why you're here instead of with the Straw Hats? Because your country needs you. Seeing her look away was all the answer he needed. The last person that needs someone to put their neck out to protect them is me. I'll get my crew out of here without a scratch on them. The admirals are infamous, you know. They're all overwhelmingly powerful, the true forces of the Marines. Vivi held herself as she continued to talk. They're up there, if not higher than the Shichibukai themselves. Naruto let a small grin finally show on his face. Well then, and here I thought I had missed my chance for a good fight after Luffy beat Crocodile. Patience is rewarding after all, isn't it, my dear princess? Vivi got angry at him for how calmly he was taking this. You can't be serious. This is completely different from fighting Crocodile. Now your opponent has the full backing of the world government. We're going to have to be your enemy, Naruto. Alabasta is a prominent nation in the world government. Naruto's grin faded to a small smile. Well, I'll just have to make sure I get away without hurting anyone from Alabasta, won't I? Besides, the only people in Alabasta that even know about me are you, your dad, and the royal guards. Other than that, I'm just some random pirate, although I still haven't really done anything pretty, come to think of it. Could I just be labeled as an outlaw or something? She wanted to hit him, to just hit him until he understood exactly what was going on. You're so. What other option do I have, Vivi? Naruto said, completely serious. If I stay here, I'll have to fight, get captured, and your father will be in trouble for letting us be here. If I run, I'll have to fight, but I can get away. All it requires in that case is for Alabasta, or should I say you, to treat me like what I really am, an enemy of the state. We're supposed to be friends. Vivi said desperately while looking down. Why can't I ever protect any of my friends the way they protect me? You all, Pell, Luffy, Agaram, Koza, I can't do anything to help. She turned her attention up when she felt Naruto in front of her with a hand on his shoulder. She hadn't even felt him move. Naruto looked down into her face. You can help by believing in us, Vivi. You don't have to fight, or even have all of the answers to help someone. Just letting someone know that you're on their side is helpful. Naruto let go of her and continued on, but you've got a country to worry about. If there's anything I'm used to, it's definitely sacrificing myself for the greater good. XXX late night passed as Naruto sat in his usual spot that he had come to enjoy. A place atop the palace overlooking the city as night fell. He felt someone scampering up the side and knew there was only one person here capable of doing such. Found anything productive while you were out today, Soren? The man in question pulled himself up the side and sat down on the ledge. There are going to be way more than you thought. There's going to be 6 ships accompanying the main admiral's ship. Naruto took in the information. Well, that doesn't change much, it just means I've got to make a bigger splash for our plan to work. Speaking of which, who are the admirals anyway? You make them sound like demons or something. Or something is appropriate, Soren said as he looked out on the city with Naruto. I haven't gotten anything on which one is coming, but no matter who it is, it's going to be bad for different reasons. He raised his hand with 3 fingers. You have 3 possible options, each of them suck for you. Aokiji, Kizaru, and Akainu. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You make it sound as if you've run into them before. Chuckling humorlessly at the thought, Soren shook his head. If I had, then I would guarantee you I probably wouldn't be here right now. They don't ever really leave Marineford, the Marine HQ. I warrant a manhunt from lower-level Marines when I'm sighted, but I don't make enough waves to get one of them involved, thank goodness. He scratched the top of his head. I don't even know what they can do as far as their capabilities in battle. Naruto shrugged. As long as they can't enslave the entire world with the moon, then I'm not really sweating it yet. What? Soren said in confusion. Naruto looked at him. What? You heard me, I'm not sweating it yet. No. Soren clarified. What was that crap you said before that? That was weird. Naruto looked up at the aforementioned moon and leaned back. Don't worry about it. Many things have gone on for as long as I've been doing this stuff. His acid-generating comrade stared at him for a while before following Naruto's example and laying back. I swear there's something not quite right with you, Uzumaki. For some reason I really like it though. God help me, I'm starting to trust your insane ass. He was quiet for a moment before looking over at him again. Do you wish the Straw Hats were here? For what? Naruto replied incredulously. The way you're talking, you make it seem like I'm not going to walk away from this. Why the fuck would you think I want them here? I don't even want all of you with me, that's why you're all running at the first chance. He calmed himself down. So everybody's ready, right? As they're ever going to be for what they're going to be doing. Soren said, standing up. Naruto scoffed. You say that like you're not going to be with them. I'm making you go with them tomorrow when everything kicks off. Hearing that almost made Soren lose his balance and fall off of the ledge before he caught himself and regained his composure. So you're going to get into it with the Marines all by yourself? You're not even going to take me with you to have your back? No. Naruto gave him a dry look. I need you to make sure everyone gets to the ship all right in case you somehow get pursued. I doubt you will be, but just in case. Whatever. Soren sighed. Don't go getting yourself caught or killed. He smirked at his captain. Things are just starting to get fun around here, you lunatic. XXX. Naruto came into his own room later that night. He didn't really need the sleep. He mostly did it nowadays because he had discovered what his old friend Shikamaru saw in sleeping. It was actually fun to do nothing sometimes. He also only slept mostly because he wanted to keep all of his mental facilities about him. He didn't want to wind up like Insomniac Gaara either, not that he really could. He slipped back inside and took off his sandals, sage jacket, and shirt to get ready to grab at least a few hours of sleep before the sun came up the next morning and he was required to be attentive and serious. You were out there for quite a while, Naruto-kun. Naruto sighed as he heard the familiar voice in the dark. Go to bed, Noji-chan. You've got some serious ground to cover tomorrow. I'm sending you back on my toads, but it's still going to be a long ride. Even thought it was pitch dark in the room, he could feel Nojiko sitting on his bed with her back against the headboard despite not being able to see her. Don't tell me you've been staying up waiting for me the entire time. No. Her body then took that moment to betray her with a yawn. Damn it. She let out an eep when she felt Naruto fall onto the bed and lay his head on the pillow next to her. You're insane. Naruto rolled his eyes. So I hear pretty much every day. You'd think you would all be used to how I do things by now. Nojiko scooted down the bed and lay down next to him, looking up at the ceiling. So you're just going to send us off to run away again while you risk your neck against who knows what? You need to stop doing that, Naruto-kun. It's like you have a death wish, and one day it's going to be granted. I hate people who throw their lives away. I don't have a death wish, Noji-chan. Naruto tried to assure her. He grabbed her hand and rubbed circles on the back of it with his thumb. How could you say that? I can't just think like that. I need to keep the rest of you safe. I'm not sacrificing my life here, I'm just risking it. Alone. Always alone. You're always doing things like this on your own and sending the rest of us off to wait for you from afar. Nojiko turned over and faced him on her side. What did you make us train for? Why did we even try to get strong? What was it all for if you don't trust us to fight alongside you? Naruto's eyes darted to hers. No one should ever fight alongside me. You've seen me fight. Stuff gets destroyed when I fight, even when I'm not serious. I taught you how to shoot to keep you safe just in case, not so you could be an active fighter. He sat up on his elbows. You are all utterly terrified of what's about to happen. I don't know anything about these admirals or anything at all about your world government, but from what I've been getting about how people are taking this guy's arrival, do you really think that being anywhere near that guy is good for any of us? Nojiko flinched. Naruto shook his head slowly. If this guy is really one of the strongest people in the world the way I've been hearing, can you really look me in the eyes and tell me that you could stand up against whoever this is? Nojiko frowned. Why does it have to be you? Naruto lay back down. I'm the only one strong enough. He gazed over and saw how upset she actually was at this. Oh come on Noji-chan. Look, I promise I'll be right behind you when you get to the ship, okay? Just do something for me when you get the ship out to sea. Go into my room and you'll find one thing, just one thing in the entire room. You'll know what to do with it. Laughs, it's only good for one thing. Nojiko looked at him and her face softened before she put her head down on his chest and sighed. We'd better get out of this alive, Naruto-kun, all of us. She glared at him lightly. If you die on us, I'll drag you back from hell and beat you to death all over again. Naruto feigned fear. So scary. He pulled her closer to him. I promise Nojiko. Now go to sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. XXX. The next morning, it hadn't taken long for the realization to go down that the time had come for the escape to take place. Clones stationed outside the city tipped Naruto off as to when they had finally arrived, prompting him to evacuate his crew on the double lest they be caught before they even had a chance of getting out of the country. Marines had centralized all throughout the capital city of Alubarna as soon as the sun had risen. The chaos of all of the men getting themselves in their posts allowed the Foxhound pirates to slip out of the city with no trouble. Just outside of the backside of Alubarna, Naruto had the rest of his comrades situated upon his toads once more, much the same as they were when they arrived in the city. You all head straight for the ship and hightail it to the ocean as fast as you can. Johnny raised his hand. How the hell are you going to catch up to us, Naruto and Ikki? You're fast, but you're not that fast. No one is. Don't worry about that. Naruto said. Just make sure you do what I say, alright? Miss Valentine smirked. Do you really think you can divert the ships watching over the coast from here? If you can't, then we're going to be sitting ducks once we reach the mouth of the river. Naruto shunshined in front of her and patted her shoulders firmly, a large confident grin on his face. Everything's going to be fine. I wouldn't ever make you do something that I didn't have worked out already. Miss Valentine laughed at him. This plan is so desperate and completely and totally asinine and out of left field that I actually think it could work. You sure like to keep things interesting, don't you? Naruto backed up with his hands in his pockets. Oh, you have no idea, and besides, it's better than your last job, isn't it? Now everybody move out. You don't want to be around when I make my move. With that said, everyone left on Naruto's summoned toads except for Nojiko. Something you need, Noji-chan. Nojiko motioned for him to walk over to her toad and grabbed him by his collar, yanking him into a kiss. She then dropped him and winked. Just that. Bye, Naruto-kun. Finally she set out behind everyone else. Naruto stared at her until she disappeared with everyone else in the distance. He finally started walking back into Alubarna, laughing loudly to himself the entire way. XXX Cobra sat at the head of a long table in what appeared to be a conference room inside of the palace with an astute look on his face. I would like to thank you for coming all the way here simply to discuss relations between Alabasta and the world government. Getting assistance from the powers of the world would be invaluable to our country after our period of inner turmoil. Yes, a tall, aged-looking man with short black hair, a thin beard, amber-lensed sunglasses, and a marine coat draped over his yellow striped suit like a cape. Your country is very important to the makeup of the government. He drawled. As soon as the news got to Marijoy, the order went out to send one of us to go over things with you. Other than the two men seated inside of the room for the proceedings, there was no one else in the vicinity. Marijoy, Cobra said. So the Gorause, 5 Elder Stars, got the news of the rebellion ending more or less as well as it possibly could have for us and decided to send you Admiral Kizaru. You've pretty much got the gist of the situation. Kizaru grinned strangely. They were actually lobbying for Aokiji to come here instead, but the lazy bum disappeared right before the orders reached HQ, so I'm sorry to say that you're stuck with little old me for the duration of the meeting. Cobra smiled pleasantly at the man. You say that as if it were an issue, Admiral. Rest assured we are absolutely elated to have you here with us in Alubarna. Shall we get down to business so that you can enjoy the rest of your stay serenely? He suggested to his powerful guest. Kizaru nodded. As you wish, King Cobra. The room fell into silence for a moment. Cobra didn't speak because this was more of a reactionary meeting. He was to hear exactly what the world government was going to do for Alabasta. Kizaru finally spoke. I'll simply cut right to the point so that I can enjoy my stay in your beautiful city. Something about that really put Cobra on edge. Kizaru leaned back in his chair. Of course the world government will help Alabasta with its recovery. Your people have been through much due to Crocodile, a man that had the backing of the Gorause, and to that end of course they will assist in the reconstruction, although one could argue that you were responsible for some of the damage yourself. Cobra narrowed his eyes. What are you insinuating, Admiral Kizaru? Kizaru put his hands up in a placating manner. Me? Nothing. The Gorause on the other hand doubt the validity of your nation's strife. They seem to believe you brought it upon yourself for one reason or another. Cobra's hands dug into the table. Really? How, may I ask, can they prove that? It's funny that you should mention that actually. Kizaru fished around in the lining of the marine coat. A member of what we now know to be Crocodile's Baroque Works organization, code name, Miss Wednesday, brought some intrigue. He placed a picture of Miss Wednesday on the table. She seems to bear a passing resemblance to someone in particular. He pulled out a picture of Vivi and slid them over to Cobra. He tried to hide his shock. Vivi had done a wonderful job of keeping herself hidden for the most part. Only Crocodile, the Straw Hats, the Foxhound Pirates, and the remaining living members of Baroque Works were aware of Vivi, and none of them were really on speaking terms with any government officials. It's not a big deal, Your Highness. Kizaru stated absently. Everything is fine, we just need to bring her to discuss her involvement with unscrupulous elements. I hear she also had some sort of connection to Straw Hat Luffy as well from Captain Air, Commodore Smoker's report. Cobra steeled his emotions. So what would this entail? Where would you be taking Vivi? There's nothing to worry about. Kizaru assured him unhelpfully. She'll be just fine by the time we get her back to Alabasta. We just need some, well, let's just say, sensitive information from her. This conversation was beginning to steer down a darker path for the king of the desert nation. XXX Naruto stood on the outside wall of Alubarna, cracking his fingers and knuckles before forming a cross-hand seal with his index and middle fingers. Let's get this show on the road. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu. In a puff of smoke, an uncountable number of Naruto clones filled the walls lining the city. Naruto cleared his voice before yelling his instructions out. Boys, you know the drill, make yourselves scarce and go nuts on this place. The clones all chuckled mischievously before all jumping off of the walls, making raucous noise and making their way to the heart of the city to cause havoc amongst the Marines. Naruto nodded in a satisfied manner as he heard the sounds of chaos ring out shortly after he let loose his lovable self-copies on the unsuspecting capital. He then sat down on the wall and began to meditate. XXX. 2 hours later, all around town, panic spread through the Marine Forces station. There is seemingly out of nowhere an uncountable force of blonde young men in long red coats descended upon them like a pox. There was no reason as to what was going on. There was not even an inkling of possible motive or actual plan, which made it absolutely impossible for the Marines to launch any kind of counter-offensive against them. It was like the mystery men were all operating off of a different set of rules. Like they were just doing whatever came to mind. Spontaneously all over town, Marines were either pulled aside and beaten senseless before they knew what had hit them, or they were set up in horrible traps and pranks akin to something from a child's mind, a demented child's mind. Sir. A group of 3 lower-ranked seamen ran up to their superior officer in a hurry. 23 more of our men are down out around the market district. Something about tiger traps all along the streets and a rain of itching powder. We can't corral them because they're everywhere. They don't seem to be going in any general direction. Another one nodded furiously, and when someone actually does wind up taking one of them down, they just disappear into smoke. Poof. He finished with a grand hand gesture. What are we supposed to do? The Master Chief Petty Officer kept his composure for a moment before losing it. I have no idea. This was supposed to be easy. Just report to Alabasta and get your station for protecting the city of Alubarna. Who the hell attacks a city knowing that there's an admiral in it? And how the hell do you make a tiger trap in the middle of a populated city? Right when he spoke, a group of 3 Marines were thrown out of the window of a nearby pub forcefully enough to be slammed into a wall on the other side of the street. It's bad enough that this place doesn't have ramen. I don't need you idiots coming in here and messing with my attitude even more. At the broken window appeared one of the blonde men in question. This one in particular didn't have a smirk or a grin on his face, he was simply scowling heavily. A group of 2 more blonde men, exactly in appearance to the first one only considerably more lighthearted, landed in front of the broken pub window. Yo, what happened? Why are you in there? The angry blonde's stomach growled loudly. Boss missed breakfast today. And guess what? Apparently this country doesn't have ramen either. He took note of the looks of shock on the other Naruto's faces. I know. That's what my reaction was too. One of the others brainstormed. That can't be possible. There has to be one restaurant in a town this big that has ramen. The angry one's stomach growled again. Well, what are you waiting for? He yelled at his comrades. Get fucking cracking and find some of that holy treasure already. Leave no stone unturned. Hi Oyabun. The clones then jumped off amid the rooftops once more, this time with an ulterior mission, while the original angry clone jumped through the broken window and walked down the street, muttering to himself with his hands in his pockets. As the clones left, all of the 4 Marines left standing let out an anxious breath. I think I just had my brush with death. One man muttered before flinching at the sight of even more whooping clones flying across the rooftops overhead. I think we should call for backup. A random explosion went off in the distance before a large cloud of orange rose up from seemingly a few blocks away. I think you're right. The head officer replied. I'm putting you up for promotion. That's good thinking. XXX Agaram watched from the palace with a telescope, allowing him to bear witness to the anarchy in the streets. What is he doing to the city? He screeched in an uncharacteristic high-pitched voice. Calm down Agaram. Chaka replied from his side, watching the events much the same way he was. He isn't really doing anything. I haven't seen any major property damage. The worst thing he's done was set off that orange paint bomb that covered that whole street on the northern side of the city. He's taking care not to do any more damage to Alubarna than it's already taken. He then sweat-dropped when he saw an abnormally large orange toad with a blue vest, larger than all of the buildings in the town, hopping through the streets swatting Marines all over the place. Never mind, well, at least the property damage is staying at a minimum. How? What the? A toad? Agaram stammered out at what he was seeing. Where on earth did a toad come from? And is he riding on the thing's head? Era, what's this? A curious voice called out from behind them. Would you look at that? It looks like a party down there. Both Chaka and Agaram paled as they turned to find the disinterested face of Kizaru standing right there behind them. Admiral. Both men stuttered out. He looked at the city with a wry grin. After all of the damage your city has been through and these careless people use their powers to simply raise havoc, what a nuisance. One of the Marines guarding the palace for Kizaru's security ran up to him, out of breath from traversing the large palace. Sir, reports from in-town claim that all persons identified attacking are the same person in description. 1. Seed of War, Uzumaki Naruto. He held up Naruto's wanted poster from after the fight with Arlong and the destruction of Captain Nozumi's Marines. Kizaru looked at the poster. Oh. He said with seemingly false enthusiasm. Well, I guess it's up to me to protect one of the nations under the World Government Alliance from one of these pirates, huh? The man that had informed Kizaru spoke up. Sir, we have sent for reinforcements from nearby forces. Kizaru said as he moved slowly through the hall. Good initiative, but I don't think this will last that long for any to be necessary. He then disappeared around a corner, followed shortly by the man that was with him. Agaram and Chaka watched Kizaru leave the vicinity before looking at one another. Agaram voiced his own concern, that boy had better get moving soon or else he won't be alive for too much longer. Chaka begrudgingly nodded his agreement. Both men turned as they felt the presence of their king, due to the malevolent feeling he was projecting. Cobra-sama, what is the matter? Cobra looked at them with the utmost seriousness. Find Vivi and bring her to me, hurry. I believe we may owe Uzumaki-san another favor after this. XXX Naruto sat atop the head of a massive toad as it stomped its way through town. Gamakichi, I don't see why you're so pissed off about being here. When was the last time I summoned you or any of the other toads for anything half this fun? Gamakichi looked up to the whiskered blonde on his head. It's hot and dry out here, Naruto ni. What toad do you know that lives in dry areas? Naruto shrugged. There's an oasis south of here. Go there, genius. He then shot a small glare downward. If you pick me up and throw me, I'm going to get the next generation toads to torment you later. He caught Gamakichi with his tongue out, about to grab his body. The toad sucked his tongue back up quickly. You're such a bastard, Ni-san. How are you not dead yet? Naruto grinned and patted his large friend on the head, because nobody's good enough to pull it off, Gamakichi. You sound like you want me to pass on. Gamakichi rolled his eyes. Whenever you finally kick the bucket, it sure won't be because you passed on. You and I both know you're going to go out in a blast of hellfire and take half of the world with you. Naruto chuckled. Me, never. It's not about changing the world, Gamakichi. It's about doing your best to make sure you leave the world the way it is for the most part. For the most part, you say? Gamakichi questioned suspiciously, this coming from the guy that. Naruto looked away and scratched his cheek sheepishly as he cut him off. Well, some things here and there have to change, you know what I'm saying. He could feel Gamakichi's facial muscles move as he started to smile, and you can go ahead and shut up, Kichi. I'll get Gamabunta on you if you keep it up. I have old dirt on you that should be buried and gone. Just like you. Gamakichi cracked absently. Naruto nodded. Yeah, just like M. He stopped and glared down at Gamakichi, who was exuding a victorious aura. Oh ha, ha. I didn't ask for this, you know. I'm simply taking advantage of what's happened to me, though I kind of want Orochimaru to know about me so I can laugh in his face. Suddenly a flurry of memories hit him. His clones were being annihilated in a path in the blink of an eye seemingly, prompting Naruto to turn to the area where the trail was leading. Looking over onto a nearby building, he saw a man in a yellow, striped suit looking at him calmly. Naruto looked at his toad friend. Well, Gamakichi, playtime is over. I'll talk to you later, okay? Naruto then jumped off of Gamakichi's head as he dispelled himself and went back home. Landing in front of the man, he put on a big cheesy smile and placed his hands out. I surrender. You surrender, the yellow-suited man said in a voice of surprise, but the look on his face didn't reflect his voice. After all of this, you would simply surrender? Yep, Naruto chirped. So come on and bring me in, Specs. Marines were more inclined to capture pirates, right? Smoker was always saying he would catch Luffy, or he would capture Naruto. He never said anything about killing them. Kizaru mused. Nope, I think I would rather kill someone like you and be done with it. Naruto blinked absently. That plan was shot. It didn't matter, it was half-assed anyway. Oh, well, that changes things then. Naruto suddenly lashed out with a punch, hitting him in the face, but his fist went right through when the man's body turned into a burst of light and vanished. He then abruptly ducked as a beam of light flew past his head. He turned to see the strange man aiming his foot at Naruto as if he had just finished throwing a kick. How surprising. The man more or less deadpanned. That you were able to dodge that. That was flying at the speed of light. Naruto stood back up and turned to face him with a tick mark on his head. I can't punch you in the face. You must have another of those goddamned devil fruit powers, something with light it seems. Can't anyone out in the world fight without one of those things? Ah. But what's the fun in that? He teased Naruto with his condescending speech. Have you ever been kicked at the speed of light, boy? Once he thought about it, he really hadn't. Naruto blinked. No, I actually can't say that I ha-irk. In the blink of an eye, Naruto was sent flying by a violent impact in his stomach that sent him sprawling about the skies of Alubarna. He eventually landed right outside of the city central square, the area right in front of the palace. The force with which his body hit the ground cracked it, getting Naruto to pull himself up with a serious look on his face. Okay then. You clearly hit harder than anyone else I've fought so far since I've started doing this whole traveling thing. That puts you up a notch in my book, putting you at notch 1. I'm so glad I've earned your respect, Kizaru said. Due to the usually placid expression on his face that seemed to be the norm, Naruto couldn't tell whether or not that was sarcasm. I mean, my ranking of admiral notwithstanding, getting complimented by a random pirate made me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Okay, now it was definitely sarcasm. Naruto quickly summoned Samahata, who began vibrating wildly in Naruto's grip. You are strong. Samahata never actively asks me to please hurry up and cut into someone. The sword made noises that seemed to agree with that sentiment. Naruto then pulled the bandages off of the blade's scaly form. Well, what my sentient sword wants, it gets. He held the sword over his shoulder, waiting for a chance to commence his attack. Now let's try this again. Whatever you like. A last request if you will. Kizaru drawled before launching a beam of light at Naruto with another kick. Naruto brought up Samahata and allowed the blast to hit his sword. The speed and power it hit him with exploded on contact and forced him backwards 50 feet. Naruto checked on his sword. So how was that? Samahata made some noise that got Naruto to smirk. Samahata says, what was that? An appetizer. Send something with a little kick behind it next time. Naruto looked at his sword. Wow, you're being a jerk today, buddy. Kizaru feigned interest. I'm so sorry that my attacks aren't up to your sword's standards, but I'm more concerned with you. With that, he seemingly vanished from sight and random beams of light flashed at Naruto from multiple spontaneous sides. Defense to the attacks were given by Samahata wrapping around his body protectively and absorbing the attacks. Naruto kept his eyes peeled as he scanned around for Kizaru. This is great and everything, but I still can't hit the bastard. I can't move at the speed of light and he's not going to just slip up and let me catch him with something. Kizaru stood back in front of Naruto stroking his beard. It seems I'm going to have to get a little more serious with you. In his hands formed a very long sword made of light, Ama no Murakumo, sword of the gathering clouds of heaven. Naruto allowed Samahata to return to its normal form since he was going to have to actively defend now. With the speed his opponent could move at, he could be precise and stab through Samahata's defense. It was useless, but at least while moving he would have a chance at avoiding the damage, unlike when he was holding still. Well, at least Samahata could eat through that sword if he could block it. Kizaru once again left Naruto's sight with the speed of his devil fruit, prompting Naruto to use his instincts developed after years of combat to bring Samahata up to his side in time to block a slice from Kizaru's light sword. However, upon touching Samahata, it didn't vanish, it clashed against it much like any other sword. Naruto saw the look of trouble on Kizaru's confident face right before he vanished from sight again. Naruto sighed and kept his reflexes at the ready. I have a very bad feeling about this. XXX Cobra had taken advantage of the panic that Naruto's presence had brought, as all Marines were called around the town square to ensure the area was locked down to keep Naruto from escaping from the admiral he was in conflict with. He had gotten Chaka and Agaram to bring Vivi to him, and at once he had summoned Karu and whisked them to the outskirts of the town under the cover of Naruto's chaos. Vivi looked at her father in shock and sorrow. What? Why do I have to leave? Cobra, Chaka, and Agaram were securing a little amount of luggage to Karu as she sat atop the duck. I do not trust the world government. Today they asked me to allow them to take you into custody for your actions during our nation's time of dissension. The absolute justice of the Marines and the Gorause will not allow you to be left unscathed or to be treated as the dignitary that you are. We are just one country and they are every other one on the planet. Our standing army could never combat the force of the Marines. As we speak, this is more or less a glorified occupation of our capital. We are at their mercy for the most part. Vivi's eyes widened. Even if she had been undercover in Baroque works, they surely had to know that she only did it to stop Crocodile's plot, and she had done as she had intended, the roundabout way surely, but why? Cobra sighed and shook his head. I don't know. I fear I am just as in the dark about this as you, but you must get away, Vivi. Please, get out of the country until I can summon you back. For your sake, I've already had you and our people sacrifice so much just for our nation. It's time that I as the king bear some of it as well. Tears sprang to Vivi's eyes. She had just gotten back and was now leaving again, not even safe in her own capital. Agaram walked up to her and she threw her arms around his neck, hugging the man tightly. Be safe, princess. You can do this. You are far stronger than you ever give yourself credit. Vivi released him and turned Karu off towards the desert, sparing one last look back at her father and her guardians. XXX back in battle. The conflict had been dragging on for quite a while due to a very important aspect. Naruto was really getting angry at his inability to hit Kizaru. He was able to block a lot of Kizaru's attacks. It wasn't like he was a stranger to someone vanishing from sight and attacking him at random, nor was he a stranger to someone avoiding his attacks altogether. That asshole Madara Uchiha had seen to it that Naruto ended up getting the real-time experience of dealing with someone that could teleport at will. But there was nothing, space-time, about this. He was simply faster than Naruto. Not that Naruto was slow by any stretch of the imagination, but the comparison of speed might as well have been a comparison between a state-level high school recreational track athlete and a fully grown, fully healthy, grasslands cheetah. Good, extraordinary actually when compared to normal people and even his peers, but compared to the alternative he just didn't measure up. Naruto's top speed was simply not the speed of light. Period. There was simply no workaround to that. He wasn't a kid anymore that could say whenever someone was better than him he would just train harder until he was just as good as them. It was the speed of light. You don't beat that, ever. And he thought the Sharingan was a cop-out. The Sharingan would get the good old run around against this guy. The thought would have made him laugh to himself if he wasn't currently in a fight for his life. Gah! Naruto shouted, how do I hit this son of a bitch? Naruto ducked and swung Samahata around himself in a 360 arc to try and hit something. It's pissing me off. How do you hit light? Naruto stabbed the sword into the ground just in time for a flicker of light to bounce off of it before Naruto ended up taking a punch that sent him flying into the side of a building, right through the wall. Naruto sat in the rubble and wreckage created from his entry. He rubbed his bruised jaw and glared at his sword. We're getting our asses kicked. Samahata made its usual noises, getting Naruto to respond angrily. What do you mean? What do you mean we? You're right here with me, getting your scaly self kicked all over the square as well. Naruto sighed. This isn't working. He resealed Samahata and stood up before yelling outside the hole in the wall. You're the only one making property damage here. Are you going to be paying for all of this stuff when you're done, asshole? He spoke lowly to himself. Why do I destroy so much stuff everywhere I go? Naruto randomly picked up debris from the ground, a piece of glass, and looked at his dirty form in the reflection. He frowned at his slightly haggard image until a glare from the sun on the mirror hit him in the eye, annoying him by slightly disorienting him. Stupid light, I've had enough of that shit today. He kept looking at his own image until he started moving the mirror back towards the sun glare. With a look of contemplation on his face he started walking further into the ruined store. There was no need to walk back out yet to hurry the fight along. He was just here to cause a distraction. It wasn't that he was tired of getting slapped around the square at light speed for the last 2 hours, not at all. Did you get lost, boy? Naruto's eye twitched at the sound of Kizaru's condescending voice. Our fight was outside, though I guess we could just as easily end this indoors as well. Naruto kept his back turned to Kizaru. No, I was just waiting for you to come to me. That shouldn't have been too much of a problem, Mr. Speed of Light. You're the one trying to kill me after all. Kizaru gave Naruto a laid-back look. Well, you have been rather impressive for a pirate with only a 55 million belly bounty. Most others would have been finished off a long time ago. I've lost count to the amount of times I've hit you, although we are in an urban area so I had to hold back. Naruto smirked. Not that Kizaru could see it, my sentiments exactly. Oh well, Kizaru lamented. As fun as it was to meet you, I guess it's time to wrap this up and finish things. Kizaru then vanished in a flash of light. However, instead of hitting Naruto like he intended to, he was sent flying instantaneously out of the building all the way across the square to plow into another building, at the speed of light. Where Naruto had been standing there was now a full body-length mirror that after bouncing the light off of it transformed back into Naruto, who was smirking. Hell yes. Basics are still best. Henge no Jutsu, transformation jutsu, for the win. XXX Karu had been running harder than he ever had in his entire life. Getting Vivi out of the country before word got around that she was gone was of the utmost importance. There wasn't any time to stop or get directions. He needed to get her to a coastal town and get her out of Dodge immediately. The princess in question was still utterly befuddled at what exactly had happened. What had gone wrong? Everything was supposed to be over. She did everything right. She discovered the conspiracy that threatened the safety of her people. She went to the source and basically instigated the catalyst that stopped that threat. It was supposed to be over after that. Things were supposed to be okay from then on. Now the world government was more or less taking control of her country. They were going to take her hostage and either do who knows what to her for information on the Straw Hats or for their absolute justice, and imprison her for working with Luffy and the others and for joining Baroque works, no matter the pretenses. Either that or use her as a hostage to fully force Cobra to play ball for them. Alabasta had little to no influence over it by the Marines and stuck to handling their own affairs. But from the amount of Marines brought in just to watch over Kizaru, their sheer numbers were staggering. Almost on par with the amount of Imperial soldiers inside of the city. And Kizaru himself was worth a countless number of troops. No way, that's the same duck that belonged to the princess. Upon hearing a voice identify her, Vivi stopped Karu to look at the person only to widen her eyes at a familiar face, Soren. Soren nodded. Seated atop Naruto's summoned toad, what are you doing all the way out here? Vivi raised an eyebrow. I could ask you the same. Aren't you supposed to have left with the others by now? Soren grinned. I came to the coast to scout ahead for any trouble and wait for the ship to come past and get me from the riverside. Uzumaki drew the troops away from the coast. They're moving closer towards Alubarna, so I guess his plans to divert troops for reinforcements after he caused a ruckus in the capital worked after all. Vivi smiled as it seemed that they were going to get away before she remembered her own dire straits. Take me with you. She blurted out suddenly. What? Was the eloquent response she received from the bald man with the red facial marking. Why the hell do you want to come with us? Vivi looked down. The government may be making a power play on my father's reign over Alabasta. He told me to leave for my safety while he handled things here so that at least one member of the royal family could be out of their direct hands. Soren frowned at the young woman. World government, huh? And while Uzumaki is gone, I guess I'm more or less the captain. He took a moment of contemplation. Okay, why not? We've got room for you and getting in a shot on the world government is always great to me. Vivi let out a breath of relief and hugged her duck Karu tightly in reprieve. XXX, with the Foxhound pirates, Johnny and Yosaku kicked the last of the Kung Fu dugongs off of their ship. Who told you to get on our ship and make yourselves at home, you bastards? Upon getting on the ship and setting it down the Sandora River towards the sea, they found that the insides of their ship were chock full of the very same martial arts practicing animals that they had all stumbled across before heading to Yuba. Miss Valentine and Nojiko had quickly sent the two swordsmen in as the cleanup crew while they navigated and steered the ship down the river. Close quarters were really not the place for them to be using swords, especially in their own home, so the effort to get the dugongs out was more or less a battle of attrition. In this case, getting their asses kicked by Naruto did good for them, as they outlasted the animals and got them out eventually. However, they did take a nasty little beating when the numbers game was against them, as evidenced by their busted mugs and bruised bodies. Nojiko was at the helm with a map of Alabasta in hand as she drove the ship along the large body of water. Miss Valentine floated down from the masts with her umbrella, smiling serenely. So how goes our escape efforts, little Miss Navigator? Nojiko gave her a half-hearted glare. Things are going well. All that's left is hoping Naruto-kun's plan cleared the coast of marine ships so that we can get away. Speaking of Naruto, Miss Valentine said, how exactly is he supposed to get back onto the ship once we get to the ocean? Yeah, Johnny asked from where he and Yosaku were keeping watch from the sides. He really never told us what he was going to do to get away. Are we supposed to double back around and pick him up somewhere? Nojiko Ainu. Nojiko shook her head in the negative. All he told me was to keep going to the open ocean and that he'd be right behind us. She tried to think hard for any clue as to what he was going to do to escape. Even for him, fighting his way out of a city packed to the brim with Marines armed to the teeth had to be impossible. Didn't he say something about his bedroom? Nojiko had no time in particular to think on it as Yosaku shouted out, attracting attention to his side of the ship where everyone saw Soren standing on shore, jokingly holding his thumb out like a hitchhiker with a familiar duck and blue-haired girl with him. After sending out Johnny with a dinghy to pick them up and row them back to the ship, everyone else, sans Soren, looked at Vivi in surprise at seeing her there. Nojiko tried to start before Vivi cut her off. I know what you want to ask me, Nojiko, but please can we wait until we are safely away from Alabasta first? I would like to ensure all of our collective safety first. Vivi said before looking around. I thought Naruto would have caught up with you by now. Nojiko's mind snapped back to the task at hand. There was supposed to be something in his room, he said. The girl moved past the rest of the crew and ran inside to Naruto's room as fast as she could. Upon reaching the captain's quarters, she found nothing in the room of any importance at first glance. Just some dirty clothes, and that was it. Naruto was never really in his own room. She did, however, see one of Naruto's kunai stuck in the headboard of the bed. She sat down on the mattress and sighed, looking at the seemingly insignificant blade until she inspected it further. It wasn't one of Naruto's standard fare kunai. It had 3 blades in something of a prong that made it look more dangerous than normal, and on its handle, which was thicker and more ornate than Naruto's normal kunai, was some kind of marking. Nojiko pulled the strange weapon out of the wood and stared at it intently. XXX Henge no Jutsu, E-rank supplementary ninjutsu and a general skill for shinobi of all types. This technique allows the user to transform themselves or another object into the appearance of another person, animal, or object. The technique requires a constant emission of chakra while simultaneously mentally maintaining the form as well as interaction of the user of the jutsu with the environment. It was one of the 3 required jutsu necessary for a young Naruto to become a ninja in the first place. However, the older he had gotten, the less he utilized the technique in the long run. Basics can be a lifesaver sometimes, huh? After getting hit with the glare off of the piece of glass inside of the ruined shop, Naruto prepared to snap off a henge the instant he knew Kizaru was going to come at him as a beam of light once more. Using henge did not give Naruto the durability of steel or anything like that, and a good hit could dislodge his transformation, but he did take on properties of what he transformed into, such as weight, general appearance, or the reflective properties of a glass mirror. Kizaru's body, made of light particles to achieve his light speed, bounced off of Naruto's mirror body and flew across the square, where he near instantly hit something that wouldn't reflect his body, forcing him to crash against it. Naruto emerged from the ruined shop to see nearly 100 marines sifting through the rubble of the building that Kizaru hit at top speed. The underlings of the admiral all hurried away once they saw the man pick himself up out of the remains and dust himself off in vain, as he was now thoroughly grungy from his own move. Kizaru simply walked forward without much of a tell on his face. What was it that you did? I couldn't see anything, but I think myself just now. Naruto grinned widely. Maybe you just missed. Ever think of that? Kizaru chuckled. I don't miss. I'm very accurate. Naruto shrugged. Whatever you say. With that he rushed at Kizaru, who simply stood still, thinking Naruto was going to punch him again, but Naruto simply made his seal for Kage Bunshin and surrounded Kizaru in a tightly knit circle of his fully cognizant clones. Kizaru let out a sigh. You can't surround light, boy. The Pika Pika no mi, glint glint fruit, lets me turn my body to photons of light. How do you expect to beat that? He simply made his way in no particular direction, simply trying to bust through Naruto's formation of clones with his light speed. Which was exactly what Naruto wanted. Naruto's clones all turned to mirrors on the double. Kizaru's light simply kept bouncing between the mirrors, as there was no gap in between them allowing the light to escape. Naruto walked over to a random mirror in general and slightly angled it off kilter, sending Kizaru off to who knows where at the speed of light. Naruto let a grin roll over his face as he waved goodbye to the now non-existent beam of light that was Kizaru. The bad thing about being as fast as the speed of light, when you don't know where in particular you're going to end up, it kind of makes it pretty hard to find and fight somebody. I doubt he could see me the entire time he was moving like that. If moving with enough speed for the Chidori gave a Sharingan-less Kakashi tunnel vision, then what did moving at the speed of light do for your vision? He was certain that Kizaru mostly centered his speed off of the fact that he only had to minutely aim and he could hit his opponents, because who could dodge light? It took a hell of an ass-kicking for him to crack that code though. Getting your ass beat at light speed was a very undesirable experience to say the least. Naruto dispelled his mirror clones but heard the cocking of guns go off simultaneously in a massive roar. Naruto looked around to see thousands of Marines standing in the streets, blocking all exits of the square, all along every rooftop, hanging out of every window, all pointing rifles directly at him. Naruto let off a sweatdrop and raised his hands over his head. He seriously couldn't beat thousands of people with rifles shooting at him with absolutely no cover, no matter who he was. Hey, I tried to surrender already. At that moment he felt a tug from a distance away that put the grin back on his lips. Gentlemen, always remember today as the day that you almost caught Captain Uzumaki Naruto. As he finished that sentence he vanished in a crack of air and a yellow blur. XXX moments before, they had reached the seas with no problems whatsoever. The coast had never been clearer even when they had first landed in Alabasta. Nojiko had come out to the deck with everyone else and stared at the strange weapon in her grasp. Miss Valentine put her hands on her hips and spoke up, "So what the hell is that?" Nojiko shook her head, "I have no idea. It's one of Naruto-kun's kunai knives but it looks weird compared to the others." She pursed her lips. "He told me to get something from his room when we were out to sea, but this was all that was there. What the hell do I do with this thing?" "Well," Yosaku stated, "he only ever does two things with them, stabs stuff with them and throws them." He motioned with his hand absently. "Why don't you do that and see what happens?" Nojiko gave him a deadpan look. "What? Is he going to just show up right when I stab it into the ground or something?" She said it jokingly but then looked at the blade before asking herself what she possibly had to lose and stabbed it directly into the deck. She stood back up and saw that everyone in front of her was wide-eyed and slack-jawed. Before she could ask them what their problem was she felt arms wrap around her body and a voice speak into her ear, "Told you so. Miss me Noji-cha." She cut him off with her pistol over her shoulder poking under his chin, but she had a grand smile on her face the entire time. "Yes I did you idiot." XXX Back in Alubarna, the hysteria of the day reached a fever pitch even as the sun died down once the majority of the servants in the castle realized that Vivi was gone. The word soon spilled to the street and had the citizens in a frenzy as they were desperate for the location of their beloved Princess Vivi. Cobra stood out amongst his people with a heavy heart but knew what he had to do. "As far as you're concerned, we're pirates just like anyone else once this begins." Naruto's words rang out in Cobra's mind as he steadied himself for his address to his citizens. He cleared his throat and began to raise his voice. "We have survived the treachery of one of the infamous Shichibukai, Sir Crocodile, and prevented him from destroying our beloved country. Today we had another such incident. Our noble capital of Alubarna was terrorized by one man of tremendous power and skill. Only the intervention and brave protection of the Marines kept him from damaging our city further. However, today was not without loss close to me personally." He choked down every bit of gratitude he owed Naruto. If Vivi was discovered otherwise she would be in severe jeopardy. There was no other way for him to keep her safe. "My dear daughter, your princess, Nefertari Vivi, has been abducted by the seed of war, Uzumaki Naruto." The sounds of anger, sorrow, and disbelief immediately erupted from Alubarna and her citizens. That was it. That was all there was to it. Soon the news would reach the world government of what had transpired today, permanently blacklisting Naruto from any leniency from the Marines and their most dogged pursuers, especially after his little performance today. Agaram and Chaka flanked him, both giving him hard looks of understanding. May God have mercy on both of their souls, both his and Naruto's. For infinitely different reasons altogether. King Cobra watched the hapless Marines scramble about his city in search of one Uzumaki Naruto and all he could do was look up at the sky. "Stay safe Vivi. Please keep yourself well, for me and everyone in our kingdom. And Uzumaki Naruto, I sincerely apologize, and hope that you have the strength of both body and mind to weather the maelstrom that I have unleashed upon you." XXX Meanwhile, in parts unknown, Kizaru looked around his new surroundings curiously. "Now where in particular would I be? I know that this place should be familiar. It's supposed to be famous as a paradise of sorts if I were to remember." He snapped his fingers in realization. "Oh yes. I know what to call this particular place." His tone dropped off significantly as his face remained largely unchanged. "Hell. Kizaru had ceased to be a beam of light after who knows how many rotations of the planet. He let go of his light form after 5 seconds, which was infinitely too long to go without hitting Naruto's body or anything in particular. He found himself in midair and turned to light to come down to the ground, where he found himself in a place inhabited by pink, rather effeminate-looking animals, pink plant life, and them. Yoo-hoo! A rather manly voice called out nearby, coming from one of 5 transvestites steadily walking towards Kizaru with an interested look in their eyes. The wrong kind of interested in his humble opinion. "We don't get many men around here," one of the other transvestites said before tittering like a woman. "Welcome to Kamabaka Kingdom. We hope you'll keep us company for a while." Kizaru sighed rather calmly and took off his sunglasses before wiping them off on his suit and placing them back on. "I think I'm going to kill that boy the next time I see him." He felt a sense of foreboding as even more transvestites came out of the woodwork with equally interested looks at him. Yes, definitely kill him right off next time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.